We are Flux Mind Collective. Today, I'd like to reflect a bit on my relationship with reality and observing my thoughts. I notice the suffering caused by my resistance to what is happening in the moment, in the labels and the qualities that I attribute to what's happening. For example, a few moments ago, I started today's recording and the dogs started barking and ran downstairs and ran into the backyard and were barking at the neighbor's dog. And I felt the anxiety in my body. And I labeled it an annoyance, and I labeled it a disturbance and inconvenient. But was it? It was simply the dogs doing what dogs do. And I had a lot of resistance towards it, and I found it interesting that I thought it should be different. And another situation that happened yesterday when I was recording in the morning. And the fact is that I'm recording in a small little neighborhood where there's all sorts of vehicles and children and dogs and activity going on. The sounds that normally happen in a neighborhood. But for some reason, my mind manufactures labels and creates a reality that's not based in reality. In actuality, it's fantasy, wishing it would be any other way than the way it is. Like the planes flying over right now. Viewing them as a disturbance rather than part of the landscape and being integrated with what is happening right now. And how do I suffer from that? From that resistance? Yesterday I sat down to record, and the leaf blowers from the landscapers were blowing all around me as soon as I started to record. And initially my thoughts went to, oh boy, this had to happen to me right when I was about to record, right? And the more I resisted it, the louder they got and the closer they got to my house. And I labeled it annoying, and I was the center of the universe, and I was a victim, and this was happening to me rather than simply happening. And it was interesting to observe how I labeled this reality and how it affected my suffering. And so I turned off the recording and I observed how my denial was affecting me. So I sat down for my daily meditation and I noticed that the longer I sat and focused on my breath, my resistance gave away and my experience changed. I was able to recognize, release the labels and the anxiety and the thoughts. And I was able to return to sanity, return to my breath. And I was suffering less at that time. And the leaf blowers were no longer, quote unquote, annoying. They became a hum. Even an inviting sound that helped me focus on my meditation as soon as I released my negative label. And so it changed my experience and led me to really question and investigate how I exaggerate situations and what labels that I place on them and how it creates suffering for me. And how these perceptions attribute to the quality of living. So the invitation this morning is to investigate, I guess, our relationship with the reality of the moment. So I'd like to sit for a little meditation and just settle in and let the bell be an invitation. An invitation to simply rest our awareness in the refuge of releasing any labels, places to go, the permission to simply let our awareness settle in the solidity of this moment. Our supportive chair, our supportive pillow, is the refuge of our reality in this moment. Resting in the sounds near, far, releasing labels, experiencing resting refuge. The white noise, the air settling on our skin, how we may feel inside in this moment. Creating a safe space for whatever emotion, feeling, thoughts that may arise. An invitation to relax our bodies. Your resting relaxation, descending down our bodies, starting from the crown of our heads, and settling down all the way down to the bottoms of our feet. A curious investigation of any places within our body that may be holding any tension, giving ourselves permission to release any anxieties we may have stored in our body. Attending to any tension we may be holding in our bodies with compassion and love, simply breathing into and releasing and relaxing any tension we may find along the way. Our motivation this morning is releasing labels, to engage in freedom of the moment, releasing suffering through misconceptions, manufactured by a fear-based storyline. Bringing our attention to the breath, our true reality. our ease, our refuge, our rhythm that brings us home. An invitation to focus our attention on the sensations of breath, without trying to change the rhythm, simply observing the sensations of the breath as it enters and exits our body. And when our mind wanders, simply recognize, release, relax, return to the breath. Return to reality. Return to refuge.